I'm Pamela Gee, and I'm the Opera by Children Director for Utah Festival Opera and Musical Theater in Logan, Utah. This is a wonderful program, Opera by Children, created by Michael Ballum, and I was invited to participate in that development, and it's been wonderful as Michael has brought back all of his experience from his illustrious career traveling around the country and throughout the world performing opera. He's brought that experience here for students to learn how to write operas alongside their teacher.
I'm Michael Ballum, the founding general director of the Utah Festival Opera Company, which is in its 30th year. I returned to the state of Utah and was a bit perplexed, if not disappointed, that children were not getting a great deal of creative activity. I am one of those children who was stifled in elementary school by a teacher who told me I would never be able to draw or paint. I just didn't see it. I didn't get what art was all about. And I believed her and have gone through a lifetime of not ever feeling comfortable in the world of visual art. That's unfortunate. And the program, Opera by Children, which I founded 25 years ago, is about trying to keep that from happening. I could see that the state of Utah had lots of education programs, but not creative programs. I approached the State Office of Education and the Utah State Legislature about an idea to go into the schools and empower children to write their own operas. The libretto, they cast themselves, they direct themselves, they paint the scenery, they create the props. It's a completely creative prospect. When I approached the State Board and the Utah State Legislature asking for assistance in terms of funding, I was turned down, saying nobody did anything like that, and it didn't seem like something that they wanted to support. However, if I would hire a fancy quartet to go into the schools and sing for the children and introduce them to opera, they were willing to help me in that. That was not my objective. I think children, in some regards, are over-entertained. What I wanted is give children a chance to create from the ground up, so that when another entity comes in with a quartet to sing opera, they will understand it, having written one themselves. Then when they hear Mozart and Beethoven and Irving Berlin, they get it. They understand what kind of creativity it took. The Department of Labor has said that to succeed in the 21st century, a child needs the ability to communicate, a form of creativity, and learning how to live in a community. Opera by Children provides all of that. The children are empowered to create the entire story, the music. They don't have to sing their story, but interestingly enough, the 117,000 children who have worked through our program, they want to tell their story through singing.
As Michael mentioned, students and their facilitating teachers work side by side with our professional artists in drama, music, and art. This happens in classrooms throughout Utah. All of the terrain from the four corners of the state across mountain and desert areas. We service schools in rural areas as well as concentrated urban school areas. Our mentors are located throughout the state and at times collectively log up to 20,000 miles in a year. We offer service to all districts and local education agencies and homeschool students. Teachers and OBC mentors work with students as they select a topic that they have or will study during the school year. The students vote on their topic, theme, setting, characters, and plot. We have 3 guiding rules as the students work together. No one gets hurt, everyone participates, and it is the students' work. The students learn to work together as they create the story, the melodies, paint the scenery, and stage the opera. Each student finds their strengths and interests throughout this process.
It felt like everybody was working together and we all had great ideas for it.
It wasn't like everyone was like, you'd say, let's do this, and they'd be like, no. They'd be like, okay, we can try that, but like they were at least willing to consider it and see, like try and figure out the best way to do it. So I liked doing that. And everyone was really nice.
And I liked the opera because we created it all by ourselves, and I loved that we created like the costumes, the scenery, the words, the songs, how the songs went, and just like I liked creating all that, and it was really fun. And we've been working on it since February, I think, and it was really fun.
My name is Letitia Tenno-Sword. I'm a kindergarten teacher at Weber State Charter Academy on the Weber State University campus. This is would have been my 9th year doing opera by children, but because of COVID, this is our 7th year. I started doing it the very first year I became a teacher in the Charter Academy, and it's now a tradition, as the families say. I have the unique opportunity to teach many children in a family. So they come with the next child and say, are we doing the opera? And I say, yes, of course we're doing the opera. The opera is just an incredible experience for the children, for the families. We have children who are very shy, very reticent, and they just sort of come out of their shell once they're standing on that stage and they're singing the songs that they wrote. Not only did they write the lyrics, but they created the melody, and they're standing in front of a set that they painted, and they're wearing costumes that they helped their families design and make. And the whole experience is really our culminating activity. So this is something we do at the end of the year, and we've worked all year long using the skills that we've been learning. So story structure, you know, in order to write a story, you have to understand how that works. The beginning, the middle, the end, you know, characters. How do the characters move the story? The set, how does that help tell the story? And then putting that all together into something that makes sense, that's entertaining, that other people will want to come see. So this process is just, it's a really magical thing.
Hi, my name is Vanessa Ballum, and I am the Education Director for Utah Festival Opera and Musical Theater. And I have been involved with the Opera by Children program since its inception. I started as an 18-year-old undergrad working as a drama mentor, and have really been involved in many different facets of the program, and now really coming full circle with being the Education Director, so seeing, you know, all of the aspects of what it takes to create something as special as Opera by Children. There's this cycle that we use in Opera by Children called TRAG, Trust, Risk, Affirmation, and Growth. Meaning if you create an environment of trust where young people or anyone feels safe, then they're going to take a risk, right? They're going to push themselves and do something like maybe create an opera, right? Or sing some notes that they didn't think they could do before, or paint some scenery. So they risk a little bit. They receive some sort of, you know, positive affirmation response to that, and then on the other side there's growth. And that cycle continues and continues and continues and continues. So the risk-taking and the growth just continues and continues. And it's something that has been my mantra ever since I started in this program as an 18-year-old, just seeing the value in, especially for young people, to feel empowered to do anything, right? And as an educator myself, and I've taught all facets of, you know, levels of students. Right now I teach on the college level, and it's the same idea, right? If you create an environment where people feel like they can take a risk, the growth is immeasurable.
As I was invited to work on this developing program, we worked closely with local educators. This expansion occurred quickly and increased even more when we received Utah State Board of Education funding through the Professional Outreach Programs in the Schools Consortium.
25 years ago when we began this program, it was on a small scale, it was experimental. I was the first one to go into a school and begin the process. I was scared to death because I had never dealt with children like that. It was small scale, it doubled the second year, and doubled that in the third year. And now we're up to as many as 300 schools per year creating their own original operas. I think it's very important for children to be able to express their stories. We don't give them that chance very often. And the challenges and problems they are dealing with are far more stringent and challenging than when I was a child. They need to have an opportunity to tell their story, tell the world how they feel.
The program continues into its second generation, as many of our serving mentors now have their children serving too. We also have students who are now educators who utilize the Opera by Children program in their classrooms.
My name is Kylie Martinez. I'm a fourth grade teacher here at Oak Hills Elementary. When I was a fourth grader, we did an opera by Children, and it was hands down the best experience of elementary school. We just learned a lot about creativity and working together, and I was a shy fourth grader myself, and so coming out of my comfort zone and performing and having my idea be shown through the opera was an awesome experience.
When Mrs. Martinez told me that she was going to do this opera, I've had experience with it, and I was so excited because it's truly one of the best experiences that I've seen in elementary school for these kids to have. Not only do they write it and produce it with the help of people and prepare all the background scenery, it's just such a builder for kids. My own kids went through this at Columbia Elementary over 20 years ago, and it was so fascinating. I had no idea what this opera was going to be like until I went to the school, saw the homemade scenery, and they produced it, and then they performed it. It was incredible. Coolest assembly I've ever seen, coolest program I've ever seen. Then when I was at South Clearfield, probably over 10 years ago, a teacher did it too. I was so excited again to have one of my teachers take their kids through the program too. I would encourage this for every elementary school, every teacher to do, because it is that good. And it just gives the kids something more about in their education progression that just makes school that much more fun. But they learn so many great things through it.
So my child actually is super nervous and scared of being watched or being in front of anybody. So we were worried about it when we first heard about it, and he loved the whole experience. He came home every day when they would practice, just raving about all the different things that they got to decide and do and how silly, and they made it silly, and so he laughed about it. And I actually work as a TA at the school, so I got to peek in at their practices a lot and just kind of like spy on them when they were working on their sets or when they were practicing it, and the kids loved it. Like every day, all of them, they were super into it. You could tell that every kid in the class was just super excited, and they were all participating, and it was a great opportunity.
She started getting more excited about it. She loved that they were the ones coming up with the ideas, and she would just come home and was so excited and just tell me every detail about it. And it was just amazing to watch that confidence grow in her, and that she could see, I can do this, we can do this. So I've loved it as a parent. I've seen a real change in her.
Over the years, I've seen changes in the program, and things have developed and evolved. But there are certain things that have always remained constant with the program. And, you know, there have been many a winter morning when I've been driving down to Salt Lake or Ogden, and I might wonder, why am I driving in this snowstorm to get down to this school? But always, without fail, driving home from those schools, I always feel so energized, and I realize that The creative process is so important. It's important to the students, it's important to the teachers, and it also feeds me as a drama mentor.
Originally, they thought they couldn't sing, they thought they didn't know how, they thought they didn't like music, and through just putting themselves out there a little bit, they're able to know that they can do something that they couldn't do before. And then throughout the whole process, they are able to see what it can turn into through the whole opera, and how like a tiny bit of effort on their part and like a little bit of interest can go a really long way.
It's been a delight to work with the students. I'm also an art teacher, so I bring a lot of art principles into my painting with the kids and teach them about color mixing, and I love that part. And the processes of having the students design the scene is just a lot of fun. To see their creativity and the joy that happens is what makes me feel like it's worth doing.
To see that magic happen in real time, and just seeing the kids be nervous at first and tentative and oh, I don't know music, I'm not a singer, but it shifts really quickly, and they're like, oh, I have this idea, okay, and it's really special to see that it gets to become something more than just that moment.
When you're seeing them, you know, in kindergarten, they don't do a whole lot of movement, they're memorizing their song, but by second grade, they're very invested in this, and they are committed to it, and they all work together to make it a beautiful performance.
One of the girls, they were supposed to be fairy type creatures, and they were supposed to be casting a spell. And one little girl, and she was the type of girl that you wouldn't maybe have paid a lot of attention to. She was quite quiet and didn't say a lot, didn't even participate that much. But then when we were performing, you could see that something profound was going on. She was moving her arms to cast this spell, and you could see she was totally into it, and then she made this big gesture when she cast the spell. And afterwards, Pam and I went to the class and told them what a great job they had done and how wonderful that moment was. And the little girl said, it feels so good to win at something. And I thought that was a strange way of expressing herself, because it wasn't a contest, it wasn't sports where you win something, but she felt like she had won something that day.
And at the time I was teaching 6th and 7th graders at Willow Valley Middle School. And so I really said, how can I incorporate this into what I'm doing as I'm looking at the core? And I really needed to incorporate them being able to not only read the music out of some music, but also be able to write music and be able to use it in a way that would make sense to them. I know that one day I'd come up to visit Mountain Crest High School, and the football team was getting off the bus, and they walk off the bus and they're like, hey, Lamb, how are you? And they're like, do you remember this? And they all got in their chorus line of the opera that they had done, and they started singing their opera to me with all of the actions. They had remembered it. Another day I was in Shopco, and I was with the checker, and he looks at me and he's like, Lamb, do you remember me? And I'm looking at this kid all grown up, you know, many years later, and he's like, I was the plumber with the Hummer in the opera. And so it was just a great way to get junior high kids with things that they loved and putting the core into it, where they had to read and write music. And as I kind of kept going and I started getting into older grades, I called up and I said, I don't have enough time to do an opera, but what if we do a songwriting unit or something where we just write a song and I send it to you and you guys help me with the accompaniment? And then all of a sudden I have people out here helping me with the lyrics and the music, and it turned into a whole big songwriting thing, and it's just been a great collaboration. That was a really great experience. And now we're doing songwriting units with the high schoolers as I've moved up to Mountain Crest High School, and it's just been really fun.
The value of opera by children is supported locally through our Restaurants, Arts, Parks, and Zoos RAPS tax and other local grants and foundations. Our challenge is finding statewide funding to support the professional outreach programs in the schools, POPS funding. With these additional funds, we will be able to expand our service capacity in art, music, and theater. Trust me, you want to be a part of this. Your desire and our desire is for every student to feel that they are a winner.